Good evening, my name is John and this is the Homestead Diary. We are doing homebrew tonight, and while we typically would juice apples or grapes or whatever it is that we're going to do, this is not the time of the year to do that. And so what we've done is we went to the store, and for about $1 a quart we got apple juice. Real simple, real easy. There's no pulp in it, it's already been clarified, less likely to end up going bad, so to speak, during the brewing process, because there are a lot fewer impurities. So speaking of impurities, one of the very important things you want to do is consider sanitation. This is a product that the brand name is called One Step, is the one that I've used in the past. This is the same sort of stuff, and you mix it with water, and then you put some in your carboy, which you've already washed, and then use it as a rinse rather than having to use chlorine or iodine or whatever. It doesn't have any kind of harmful residue, although I do rinse it out just to be safe. But it's definitely a lot better than trying to use your typical household bleaches and whatnot, because they do take a lot of additional rinsing and use a lot of water to get rid of it. And so the process involves just simply putting the juice in the carboy, and then we augment the juice. Now you can make your standard, your standard hard cider or whatever by simply taking your apple juice and taking some yeast and just letting it ferment, and you'll get anywhere from 4 to 6% alcohol. But if you want to supercharge that, then add about 1 pound per gallon of sugar. And we actually prefer adding brown sugar, because brown sugar has a bit more of a, how do you say it? When you pick up a bunch of different apples, and you have a tendency to get different flavors and different varieties, and it has a more robust sort of flavor to it. If you just use plain white sugar, then you don't really get that sort of mouthfeel, and you don't get that sort of flavor, that complexity of flavor that you get when you use brown sugar. And so it's kind of cheating, because we just have one variety of apple coming out of this one variety of apple juice, but it does create quite a tasty drink. And so one of the important things that we do is we add the sugar to the juice. And so we'll take a container of juice and put our 1 pound per gallon in a pot and bring it to a boil. Very important to do, because the sugar, while presumably clean and edible, has not necessarily been sanitized in the same fashion that your juice, which was heated up to kill any bacteria or any kind of yeast spores, that was heated up before it was bottled. And so that doesn't need to be boiled, but the sugar does. And so you add the sugar to it, and then you pour it in, and using one of these nice big funnels, which is awesome to have. You can't really effectively brew beer or wine without a big funnel. Pretty simple, they're pretty cheap. Now, the yeast that we use, it says EC1118, and I don't know what that stands for, but as I've been told by the brew stores, this is a champagne yeast, and so it can tolerate much higher levels of alcohol, which means that you'll end up with a much more complete fermentation. Your wine will end up, just depending, it changes from time to time and conditions, but it'll be anywhere from a slightly sweet to a very dry wine. And we prefer it a little bit sweet, but not too sweet. And so it ends up fermenting out very nicely. And so, I mean, that's pretty simple, the whole process. This, of course, is an airlock. You don't want yeast that don't belong in there to get in there. And so you just put this on there and make sure the airlock stays full of water. And as it ferments, it'll bubble, bubble, bubble. And then after about a week, we'll do what's called racking off, which is where we'll take a racking cane, a piece of stainless steel cane, a racking wand cane, and then a tube, and we'll just siphon it off into a larger container, and leaving any of the yeast cake behind. And so that will prevent any kind of off flavors. And then we'll siphon into a much larger barrel, anywhere from 20 to 55 gallons, depending upon the run that we're doing. And then it can just sit, and you forget about it for 6 months to a year, and then you go open it up and you have delicious apple wine. And that's how it's done. Y'all have a blessed night.
Have a blessed night.